Most parents don't realize that their kids' brains are literally being rewired by the amount of time they spend on screens, and not in the way you might think. It's not about being addicted or lazy or having bad attention spans. It's something much more subtle than that. When a child's developing brain gets used to rapid-fire notifications, constant stimulation, and instant rewards, the neural pathways that build patience, deep focus, and genuine satisfaction actually start to shrink. They're not broken. They're just being shaped differently than they were meant to be. And here's the part that keeps most parents up at night. By the time you realize something shifted, the habit is already deeply wired in. Your kid isn't choosing to feel anxious without their phone. Their nervous system has learned to crave that input. But I want you to hear this clearly. This isn't a failure on your part. You're not a bad parent for letting your child have a device. You're actually living in probably the most complicated parenting era that's ever existed. We're all figuring this out in real time. There's no instruction manual for raising kids in a world where technology is woven into literally every part of childhood. The question isn't whether your kids should use screens at all. That ship sailed. The real question, the one that actually matters, is how we help them develop a healthy, balanced relationship with technology while they're still young enough for us to shape that. Think about what happens in a typical home right now. You've got kids waking up and checking notifications before they even get out of bed, eating breakfast while scrolling, going to school distracted, coming home and immediately retreating to their room with their device. Dinner happens with phones nearby. Bedtime turns into an endless negotiation about putting the device down. And parents are caught between feeling like the bad guy who's denying their kids something essential, or feeling like they've lost all control. It feels impossible, right? Like you're fighting against the entire world's design. And actually, you kind of are. Entire teams of engineers and psychologists have been paid enormous amounts of money to make apps and games as engaging and habit-forming as possible. Your kid isn't weak for struggling with it. Neither are you for finding it overwhelming. So, what actually works? Not the extreme approaches you've probably heard about. Not going full Luddite and banning technology entirely, because that usually backfires spectacularly and just teaches kids to hide and sneak. But also not the hands-off approach where you figure your kid will just figure it out, because without guidance, the algorithm and the endless reward cycle will absolutely win. The real shift happens when you understand what healthy boundaries actually look like, and it's different for every family, every age, every child's temperament. There's no one-size-fits-all number of hours that's perfect for everyone. What matters most is what I call intentional presence. That means the limits you set aren't coming from a place of punishment or control. They're coming from a genuine understanding of what your child actually needs to thrive, and that includes connection with you, physical activity, time spent on skills that build real confidence, sleep that actually matters, and yes, some downtime that isn't screen-based. Picture this scenario. You've got a 10-year-old who comes home from school completely overwhelmed. They've been socially managed, academically tested, and overstimulated all day. What do? They grab a device because the immediate, low-effort stimulation actually feels calming in that moment. I get it. But what they actually need is something else entirely. They need to move their body. They need to talk to someone who cares. They need to do something creative or physical that lets their nervous system reset. The device feels like the answer, but it's actually keeping them stuck in the exact overwhelmed state they're trying to escape. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When you genuinely understand this, the limits stop feeling like punishment to your kid, and they stop feeling like you're the bad guy to you. Instead, they start to feel like you're actually protecting something precious. Let's talk about what realistic boundaries might actually look like. For younger kids, we're talking about keeping devices mostly out of bedrooms. There's real science here. The blue light, the stimulation, the fear of missing out all combine to make sleep genuinely harder. If your kid's device is in their room at night, you're not just dealing with screen time issues. You're dealing with a tired, dysregulated child whose brain isn't actually getting what it needs to grow. Then there's the morning and meal times. I know this feels radical to some families, but imagine what happens if the first hour after your kid wakes up is device-free. No checking notifications. No looking at what their friends are doing. They actually experience some boredom. Their nervous system calms down a little bit before the day even starts. And breakfast is actually a time where conversation happens, where you notice how they're really doing, where they're not already mentally somewhere else before school even begins. Mealtimes matter way more than most parents realize. When your family eats together without screens present, something genuinely shifts. Kids actually talk about their day. They practice social skills. They feel like they matter to you. You notice when something's bothering them. That connection is what becomes their actual anchor when social media gets hard or peers start saying things that hurt. And here's something a lot of parents struggle with: the transition times. Right after school, right before bed. These are actually the moments when limits matter most, because these are when kids are most likely to reach for a device to regulate their emotions. They've had a frustrating day, or they're anxious about something, or they're just overstimulated, and their instinct is to disappear into the screen. What actually works is having a real transition plan. Maybe it's 30 minutes of something completely different before screens come back into the picture. Maybe it's physical activity. Maybe it's a snack and conversation. Maybe it's creating something with their hands. The specific activity doesn't matter as much as the fact that there's intention behind it. They're learning that they can handle big feelings without immediately reaching for their device. Now, if you're nodding along and thinking this all makes sense, but you're terrified of actually implementing it, you're not alone. Most parents feel that way. Because here's the honest truth: setting limits usually causes an immediate explosion. Your kid will be upset. They'll argue that you're ruining their social life. They'll tell you that literally everyone else gets to do it. And if you have multiple kids, they'll compare what each other gets to do, and it'll feel like you're playing referee for the next 6 months. That's the moment where most parents cave. And then the limits disappear, and you're back where you started. Except now you know you tried and it didn't work. Except that's not what happened. What happened is you tried something hard, encountered resistance, and underestimated how long it actually takes for a new pattern to stick. Here's what you need to know. The first 2 to 3 weeks of a new boundary are absolutely the hardest. Your child's brain is used to the reward cycle. When you interrupt that, they experience genuine withdrawal. It's not manipulation, even if it feels like it sometimes. Their nervous system has been trained to expect that input, and you're removing it. Of course they're upset. But if you can hold that boundary through those initial weeks, something shifts. Their nervous system actually recalibrates. They stop fighting as hard. They find other things to do. They sleep better. They're less anxious. And then they wonder why they were so attached to it in the first place. The key is consistency. Every single person in your household has to be on the same page about what the limits are. Because if one parent is enforcing it and the other isn't, if grandparents are ignoring it, if you're inconsistent depending on your mood, it doesn't work. Your kid learns that if they push long enough or complain to the right person, the boundary will move. And then nothing actually changes. If this is resonating with you, and you're realizing that some of the struggles you're having at home might actually come back to how screens are being used, there's a free chapter I've put together that walks through exactly how to start this conversation with your family. What realistic boundaries look like at different ages, and how to actually implement them without turning your home into a war zone. It's linked in the description, and it's genuinely made a difference for a lot of parents who felt like they were drowning in this. Now let's talk about something that most parents don't think about until it's too late: the example you're setting. Your kids are watching you constantly. If you're checking your phone during dinner, if you're scrolling first thing in the morning, if you're distracted during conversation because you're responding to notifications, they're learning that this is what normal looks like. They're learning that devices are more important than presence. And then you set a rule saying they can't have their device at dinner, and it feels hypocritical to them, even if you don't say it out loud. They feel it. One of the most powerful things you can do is actually examine your own relationship with your device first. Not perfectly. You don't have to be perfect, but intentionally. Where are you reaching for it out of actual need versus habit? When are you using it to avoid something uncomfortable? When is it genuinely adding to your life versus just filling time? Because here's what happens when you genuinely start to shift your own patterns. You're not just setting arbitrary rules for your kid anymore. You're actually teaching them through your own behavior what a healthy relationship with technology looks like. You're showing them that devices are tools, not masters. That presence is valuable. That you can be bored sometimes, and that's okay. And something really powerful happens in families where the parents are intentional about this too. The rules don't feel like punishment anymore. They feel like part of your family culture. Like, this is just how we do things. This is what we value. Let me give you a real example. I know a family with a 14-year-old who is spending 6 to 7 hours a day on social media. Not all at once, but constantly throughout the day. Gaming, scrolling through videos, checking what friends were doing. The parents finally set a boundary. Devices out of bedrooms, no screens after 9 p.m., no devices during meals, and a hard cutoff on social media apps at certain times during the day. They also, crucially, did the same thing themselves. The first month was brutal. The teenager was furious, claimed her friends were talking about her, said she was going to miss important things. There was a lot of drama. But by month 2, something shifted. She was sleeping better. She wasn't having as many anxiety spirals about what people were saying online. She actually picked up a book again. She and her parents started having real conversations instead of sitting in the same room in silence while everyone was on their device. 3 months in, she actually told her parents that she liked not having her phone in her room at night. She said it felt less stressful. Did she still want to spend hours on social media? Yes. But she wasn't fighting the boundaries as hard anymore because she was actually experiencing the benefits. That's what happens when you commit to this. Now, I want to address the guilt that probably came up while you were listening to all of this. Some of you are thinking about all the screen time your kids have already had. How you've maybe used devices as a babysitter more than you'd like to admit. How you're worried you've already messed something up and it's too late to fix it. It's not too late. Kids are remarkably resilient. Their brains are plastic and adaptive. What matters now is what you choose to do going forward. Not the past. Not the guilt. Just the next decision you make today. The other thing I want to say is that healthy boundaries with screens doesn't mean your kid can never have a device. For older kids, devices are genuinely part of how they stay connected to their social world. They're tools for learning. They're how they'll eventually be expected to function in school and eventually work. What it means is that the device doesn't get to be the default activity. It's not what happens automatically when there's nothing structured happening. It's something that happens intentionally, with purpose, with limits, and with breaks. And here's something that matters. You don't have to figure this all out perfectly from day one. You can start with one boundary. Maybe it's just keeping devices out of bedrooms at night for a month. See how that feels. See what shifts. Then add another boundary if you want. The goal isn't to go from total chaos to perfect regulation overnight. The goal is to start moving in a healthier direction and to do it in a way that your family can actually sustain. Different families will need different limits based on their kids' ages, temperaments, and what's actually going on in their lives. A teenager who's struggling with anxiety might need stricter boundaries around late-night scrolling. A younger kid might do fine with devices once homework is done. A kid who's really into gaming might need different rules than a kid who's more into social media. The process of figuring out what works for your family is actually a really important conversation to have. Not you announcing what's happening, but you sitting down with your kids and saying, here's why we're making this change, here's what we're trying to protect, here's what the boundary is going to be, and here's what we need from each of you to make it work. That conversation alone changes things. Because suddenly your kid isn't just being told no. They're being included in the process. They understand the why. They're part of the solution instead of just the problem. As you're thinking about all of this, really consider what you want your kids to remember about their childhood. Not whether they had unlimited screen time or not, but whether they felt genuinely connected to their family. Whether they learned how to manage themselves and their emotions. Whether they developed skills and interests that aren't dependent on being online. Whether they know how to be bored and actually be okay with it. Those are the things that matter in the long run. And they're all things that become harder to build if screens are the default way that every difficult moment gets handled. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one boundary. Just one. Maybe it's no devices during dinner. Maybe it's no phones in bedrooms at night. Maybe it's a device-free hour after school. Pick something that feels doable for your family, but that would actually make a real difference. Commit to it for 3 weeks. Really commit. Don't negotiate in the middle. Don't let it slip because it's inconvenient. Just do it for 3 weeks and notice what changes. You might be surprised at what you see. Your kid might sleep better. There might be more actual conversation happening. Everyone might feel a little less anxious. You might remember why you actually like spending time together. And then from there, you can decide what comes next. But I'm willing to bet that once you experience what it feels like when screens aren't running the show, you'll want to keep going. What one boundary do you think would make the biggest difference in your home right now? I genuinely love to hear what you're going to try. Drop it in the comments. And if this has been helpful, stick around because we're going to keep talking about how to raise kids who are confident, connected, and actually thriving in a world that's designed to pull them in 1,000 different directions.